Why don't they serve chocolate at Arkham Asylum? Because they don't want anyone to break out. Welcome to Comic Book Editions Volume 256. This is going to be an exciting video for me because I have big collecting news that I'm sharing in today's video that you'll want to stick around for. I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome. Yesterday I celebrated my 6-year anniversary of my first upload on my YouTube channel. I'm very excited to still be enjoying YouTube, more excited about the friendships and the connections that I've made because of having a YouTube channel. So I thank you for coming back, or if you're new and visiting for the first time, for being here and enjoying the content that I contribute to the comic book community. It does mean a lot to me. And I do want to remind you, just in case you don't know, I can see the finish line for 1,000 subscribers. I am so close. So if you could share my channel with someone that might subscribe, I certainly would appreciate it. It would help me hit that 1,000 goal, which has been my goal since I started on YouTube over 6 years ago. And I thank you for being here today. The algorithm loves it if you give this video a thumbs up, a heart, and a like. And at the end of today's video, I'll be asking for your feedback, your comments on what I shared today. And I've got some good stuff to share today. We're going to start out with DC, then we're going to segue over to Marvel, and then return back to DC before the video wraps up. So let's get this Comic Book Editions Volume 256 kicked off. And kicking us off is Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, issue number 79. It still is Superman September. I am actually trying to collect this title backwards, and there's 4 issues that I need to have a run from 102 through the end of the series, and I need 113, 114, 115, and 118. I went out shopping the other day to Cowabunga Comics. Shout out to James and my good friends at Cowabunga Comics. And did a little retail therapy, and when I go there, I like to pick up a Lois Lane comic book if I could. They didn't have any of those specific issue numbers that I mentioned, but this is one that I've been wanting to have. It came out in 1967. Of course, it's classic Neil Adams artwork on the cover. Richard Hughes wrote the first story, and Kurt Schaffenberg did the art for the entire issue. It has 2 stories in it. So here in our first story, which the cover comes from, Lois is going to marry Titan Man. Then all of a sudden, she discovers his mysterious secret. I'm going to tell you what the mysterious secret is. He has a harem of wives, and Lois would be wife number 8. And Lois is having none of that. She thought this was her dream man, that she could put Superman behind her. But no siree when she found that out. Turns out, though, it all was a dream. The second story, which was written by E. Nelson Bridwell, is kind of forgetful. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I'm really going to talk much more about it, except to say that Lana Lang is scooping Lois, and they introduce another set of LL characters in that, but overall, it's a forgettable story. I know my friend Silver-Hair Bronze Age Babe approves this Lois Lane comic book being in my collection. She'll be back with us on Fanboys Live and the Retro Review this upcoming Sunday, and we're going to do kind of a spooky Superman and ghosts as the theme. So that will be 7:15 p.m. Central, 8:15 p.m. Eastern here on my YouTube channel. Fanboys Live and the Retro Review is the greatest DC comic show on YouTube. I'll also add in, I did some Superman videos in the month of July when the new movie dropped. I did 2 weeks worth. I have bought so many more Superman comics, mostly Bronze Age, that I could probably do another all Superman haul sometime in the future. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. This is one that I've been curious about for a while. It's Flash Volume 1, issue number 280. 1980 is when this was published. Dick Giordano is doing the cover art, Carrie Bates the writer, and then Don Heck on interior art duties. I love this storyline, this era of Flash. So in 275, Iris gets killed, and it's presumed that it's Clive Yorkin, who we see here on the cover, that has killed his wife. All indications lead to that. So they did these multiple issues afterwards with Flash dealing with Iris's death and then trying to bring justice to her death in capturing Clive. So we have Melanie, although Melanie is this character that they introduced that had a crush on the Flash, and she can kind of control people a little bit. I will say every time I look at her, to me, she looks like Lilith from the Teen Titans. But we have Melanie in the story. We have Clive Yorkin, and then the big cliffhanger at the end when Flash finally catches Clive. And Clive could have been killed, and Flash stops it because that's what superheroes do in the name of justice. The big cliffhanger at the end, he comes home and Barry finds out we have proof that Clive Yorkin wasn't the killer of Iris. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. As I said before, love this era of Flash. Here's a Batman comic book that was kind of a spur-of-the-moment decision to pick up. It's Detective Comics number 479. I picked this up because I have Detective Comics issues 480 through 501, so I thought, why not just have it 479 through 501? This was released in 1979. Marshall Rogers does the cover and interior art. Len Wein is the writer on the detective story. It features Clayface. We have the apparent death of Clayface in this. Death doesn't stick, as they often don't do in comic books. But I was also really interested in Hawkman, who has a story in here. Hawkman and Shiera come back from Thanagar to find they've lost their museum in Midway City. It's been taken over by someone else, and they got some problems waiting for them on Earth. This issue is also a very minor key, as it's the first appearance of Fadeaway Man. But Fadeaway Man would come back in a Batman-Hawkman team-up in Brave and the Bold issue 186, which I do have in my collection. So nice just to add another little tech into the comic book collection. Let's jump on over to Marvel for a minute. And I want to start out with Fantastic Four Volume 1, Issue 195. This would be 1978. We have an awesome George Perez cover. Can't go wrong with that. Marv Wolfman is writing the story, so those two certainly know how to collaborate. Keith Pollard does the interior art here. At this point in the Fantastic Four storyline, Reed had lost his powers several issues earlier, and he broke up the team. So they're kind of following the different characters individually, or just, they're not together so much as a group, but they kind of check in with the characters individually. Like Sue is out in Hollywood, apparently doing a movie in this issue. I will say, when I look at this guy over here that's shooting the ray at Namor, who's in the background, in quick glances, I always think it's Iron Man on the cover. I'm like, oh, there's Namor. I'm like, oh, there's Iron Man too. It is not Iron Man, though. And it looks like him, at least to me. I did some Fantastic Four themed comic book editions, CBA 247 and 248 back in July as well, when their new movie came out. And I am going to tell you, I had some FOMO from not going out to Disneyland to meet and greet the Fantastic Four that were out there. They're not out there anymore, but I watched a lot of videos from people that went out there, and that little Herbie who was out there who would interact with the Disneyland customers, that was pretty cool. And he was pretty awesome, so I really did enjoy that a lot. And I do have plans on picking up the Fantastic Four movie. Want to get that on a 4K on a physical disc that I can hold on to. Let's advance 1 year to 1979 for Fantastic Four issue number 214. So by this time, we now have John Byrne on artwork duties, including the cover and interior. Marv Wolfman still writing the story. It's the FF versus Skrull X, and apparently the Skrull X has been hiding in the Baxter Building since Fantastic Four issue 204, and they finally battle out at this. By the end of this issue, the eldest Fantastic Four members are made younger by the skull ray that's hit them. So I think at the time what Marvel was trying to do is explain the passage of time, because they were holding on to like a real-time universe model at that point. You know, that's really a moot point these days now with the sliding timescale model that they practice. So, but back then, that's how they were trying to take a few years off of the FF by having them hit with this Skull X-ray. Skull X-ray. That's kind of funny. Skull X-ray. A ray that he fired. I still trying to fill in a lot of these Fantastic Fours that I need. I tried to get a bunch of them before the movie came out, and I mean, prices have increased a little bit on them, but nothing too drastic, I think. Since we are talking John Byrne, you have no idea how happy I was to find this at Cowabunga Comics. The Art of John Byrne, Volume 1. It's the only volume they ended up doing. This was published in 1980. Let's take a quick moment just to appreciate the cover. One thing that surprises me when I look at this cover, which I love, is I'm like, oh, and Ant-Man's on there too. Like, you don't necessarily see him. Take a moment and look at the cover yourself. You see Ant-Man there? Yep, he's on there too. I love this cover. So the interviews that are done with John were done like the year prior, like 1978 and 1979. You got to remember, this is the time that he was working on X-Men with Chris Claremont. And I haven't spent a lot of time with this book, the interior of it. I mean, I just got all of these books a couple days ago. But I remember paging through it a little bit, and I saw in part of the interviews John saying, oh, we have plans for Jean Grey. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's the Dark Phoenix saga. You know, it hasn't been published yet at the point that they're doing the interview, but they're thinking about it and talking about it, and that's current stuff that's going on. There is just a little bit of DC artwork in here, like a Superman and a Batman, but most of it is X-Men. Most of it is artwork that I still haven't seen, even after all these years on the internet. One of the reasons that I'm especially happy to have this, I always forget about this book. I mean, it's kind of a fanzine, really. And I'll see somebody show this, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get one of those into my collection. I'll go on eBay, and I'm like, I don't like the price of any of these. And then at Cowabunga, I was kind of going through their magazines and fanzines in a larger than comic size section. And I was flipping through, and I thought, did I just see that Art of John Byrne? So I went back and looked again. They had 4 copies of it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I know that John's Comics with Friends has a version of this. So now I am twinnies with John. However, I am not identical twinnies with John because his is a signed copy. Mine isn't, but I still love it. I love it almost as much as if it was a signed copy. In that same section, I found this Alter Ego magazine. This was published in 1999, double size. It's a big anniversary issue for them. This is the first Alter Ego magazine that I've had in my collection. I have some of the like back issue magazines and stuff that the same company produce. They do such a great job. I think it's just the cost that that prevents me from buying this monthly. But man, their articles are so good. I'm like their target audience for this, and I really should be supporting them more than I am. This cover is taken from All-Star Squadron preview that appeared in Justice League of America issue 193 with artwork by Rich Buckler. Now, while it's DC on the cover, this book is full of Marvel and DC. And I haven't spent a lot of time inside of this either, but just flipping through, I did see an interview where they were talking about the reboot of Wonder Woman with Gene Colan and stuff in the 1980s, and when they changed her look from the eagle emblem to the double W. And I think that was a Roy Thomas interview, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a lot of good stuff to dig in here. They had like the prelim art, the concept art that became Avengers 83 with the Lady Liberators. They had that published in here too. So this was not anything I went in expecting to pick up or come home with, but was so happy that I ended up coming home with. So this is beyond cool, at least I think. So we're getting ready to reveal what I teased at the beginning of today's video. I can't believe I'm getting ready to show this book to you. Let's do it. Justice League of America, Volume 1, Issue 19. Do you know what this means? I have completed my Justice League of America Volume 1 run. This is the coolest story, too. So every time I go to Cowabunga, I talk to James, the owner, and I always give him an update on how many away am I on my Justice League of America back issues that I need. And when I was in the other day, I said, I'm just 1 away. And I was talking to him about how odd it is that for all of my collecting life, I would go into a comic store or a show or whatever, and there always was a Justice League issue that I needed. And now there aren't any that I need. I mean, there's some I want to upgrade and stuff, but there aren't any that I need. And he's like, what issue do you need? And I said, 19. He's like, I might have just gotten one of those. Let me go look. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool. And he was gone a few minutes while I was browsing around in the store, and he came back, and I was kind of far away on the store, and it didn't look like he had anything in his hands. And he was faking me out, and then he held it up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I had passed on a few of these on eBay, and I'm so glad I did because I like the condition of this book better, and I like the price better. And poor James got like a semi-hug from me. I was that excited. So sorry, James. And I literally, I think it's so much better that the last issue that I needed, I didn't order it online. I found it in the wild. I went there not knowing that he had a copy of it. And that's how it played out. I just love the way that that's how it played out in the end. So if I didn't say already, 1963, Murphy Anderson, Gardner Fox. I haven't read this yet. I'm going to read it coming up in the November edition of JLA versus Avengers, which is a monthly show that I do with John's Comics with Friends. And that's when I'll do my first official read on this. I do seem to remember, though, this issue is where the JLA reveal their secret identities to one another. And you can see on the cover, we got the heroes up there, and we see some of their secret identities down here in the crowd watching. But it doesn't last because Superman, I think, uses something called like amnesium at the end of the story, and they end up forgetting it. By the way, our next JLA Avengers, which covers the issue before this, number 18, is going to be coming up on John's Comics with Friends channel, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central on October 22nd. So set your calendars for that. We always have a good time. And you in the chat, help us decide who had the better issue in this upcoming case. So it'll be issue 18, the Avengers or the Justice League of America. And you know what I think we have to do? I've been putting up that goal list every time that I checked one off the list. Even though the list is completed, let's take a quick look at it right now. And that is how it looks completed. Wow. Seriously, as a childhood collector, I never thought I'd be able to complete every issue, all 261 of Justice League of America, Volume 1. I gave myself 3 years to do this. In 2024, at the beginning of this, I said, let's take 3 years, 36 months, because I was 36 issues away in January of 2024. I ended up completing this in 21 months instead of 36. It just, I don't know, it kind of snowballed. I got on a roll and it just kind of went. What I would like to know from you is, are you interested if I did a video or a live stream, and let me know video or live stream, showing all 261 issues and just talking about this run now that I've completed it? Let me know that. I do need to get in touch with Gary B, the Casual Comics guy. He was talking, once I completed my run, now that I have, of having me and my friend Joe, Anachronic Comics, on, because Joe just completed his Justice League of America Volume 1 run. Congratulations on that, Joe. And I was even able to help him find that last issue that he needed too. And since we both just completed it, maybe doing like a 10-1-1 edition of the Justice League, which I'd definitely be down for. So, yeah, let me know what you think. If I did some type of JLA video or live stream, I'd probably wait till after November because there's facsimiles coming to issue 21 of Justice League, and I would want to include them in my video. So just let me know what you think about this. I can't believe that I completed it. Very surreal, and I kind of wasn't having the best day that I ended up completing that, and I went to Cowabunga Comics in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. And that completely changed my mood around. I thought looking through some boxes of comic books might help, and it certainly did. Are you close to completing any runs in your collection? I got to wonder, what run am I going to work on next in trying to complete? That's something that I need to take a moment to try to figure out. I don't have the originals of the Brave and the Bold issues that precede Justice League Volume 1, so maybe, I don't know, those are kind of expensive. I have the facsimiles of them, but I don't know. I'll think about it. What did you think about the books I showed today? Are any of these books I showed books that you're looking for to add into your collection, or do you have them in your collection already? Let me know in the comments, as your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. Yesterday, I dropped my back issue of the week YouTube short, which is on Swamp Thing. So check out that short if you haven't had the time yet. I mentioned Fanboys Live and the Retro Review coming up. Silver Hair, Bronze Age Babe back on with Signature King and myself in a Superman ghost theme this upcoming Sunday. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Other than that, that wraps up everything I know. Thank you for being here for this special Comic Book Editions video today. It means a lot. I know that a lot of you have been with me on this journey, especially completing this Justice League comic book run. What title do you think I should work on next? You let me know in the comments too. But 6 years into this and still loving it because of you. Couldn't do this without you and wouldn't want to. Truly mean it. And getting so close to 1,000 on the subscribers that I'm even starting to think, what would a 1K party celebration with giveaways kind of look like? So I'm kind of in my mind planning that out too. Details on that, I think the 1,000 subscribers are going to come sooner than later. All of this to come in the future. Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's video. I'm going to stop babbling so you can get on with your day. I hope you have a great, happy, healthy, successful day and rest of your week, and look forward to visit again with you soon. Until then, take care and bye for now. Let's make this officially official and enter it into my CLZ. That's what it looks like now. Boom. 1 through 261. Wow. Thanks for watching.